guys, it's Andrea with Hippie Hounds, and I'm so excited to start episode 1 of our new podcast. I'm starting this podcast to really shine some light on veterinary cannabis news because there's not a lot of resources out there to really make it accessible to veterinarians or to pet parents, and so I wanted to bring that resource to you guys. It's an environment that I'm completely enthralled in, and also I work in it, so it's just a space that I've got a lot of information about that a lot of people don't have. So I've got notes so that I can keep myself together. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually a piece from the AVMA that came out in 2020. And it's essentially a resource that has the history, the pharmacokinetics, the endocannabinoid system. It talks about quality control, toxicosis. There's tons of pieces that this particular document covers that can ready a veterinary professional to discuss cannabis in practice. And with CBD and hemp being so readily available for your clients, it's important that you begin to bring CBD into the fold and into the conversation so that you can be better equipped to guide your clients. I assure you that pet parents are interested in a holistic version of pain control and anxiety control and seizure control, and I can go on and on and on. So this is an overview from the AVMA, like I said, and I'll pull that up for you guys so you can kind of see it. It's got a lot of great information, and it also shows that there is enough research that we can at least say yes to one thing and no to another. So if you're one of those veterinarians that loves to say there's not enough research, I would love to have a chitty chat. So please reach out to me because there is research available. Maybe you just don't know where to look, or maybe you're a little intimidated by the cannabis space. Either way, the AVMA is here to help you out. The AAVSB also has guidelines that they released for administering CBD to companion animals. So the resources are abundant. It's just a matter of reaching out, grabbing it, and having the right people to ask. And I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. The other article I want to talk about is actually from March 2023, and it's about a Waltham Pet Care Science Institute where they research the effects of CBD administration on dogs with anxiety where it pertains to car rides and separations. So when the pet parent leaves the home, how the dog responds to that. So what they did was they did a 4 mg per kg dose. Specific to the dog. They took 20 dogs. It was double-blind placebo, so some of these dogs did not receive the medication and some did. For the ones that did, they reported incredible things. I jotted them down. They recorded that these dogs were less sad. They had significant... Oh, I'm going to have to sit in my lap if you're going to make weird sounds. Okay. They had considerably lower cortisol levels. They also reported less whining, more comfortable body language. So these dogs actually found quite a bit of relief from this. They administered the dose 2 hours prior to the exposure to the stressor. So I found that interesting. I was like, oh, okay, 2 hours, that's cool. I did a little bit more digging and I found that they administered a broad spectrum CBD product. So let's talk about that for a minute, right? If they administered just CBD to these dogs, that would be CBD isolate. Isolate is not as effective as a broad spectrum or a full spectrum. So an isolate contains just that molecule. So if it's CBD, it's just CBD. Broad spectrum is THC free, so it has those other good elements in the plant. It's got the CBD. It probably has some other minor cannabinoids such as CBG, CBN, CBC, and it may have some terpenes in there as well, depending on how they prepare the product. And then a full spectrum contains low levels of THC, so less than 0.3% THC, but that's what Hippie Hounds products are made of, is full spectrum, because those minor trace amounts of THC won't cause an intoxication in your dog. It's just going to be enough that you can see it work with those other minor cannabinoids in synergy to where the medication is actually profoundly more effective. So, and I got off track now. What was I even talking about? Okay, so yes, the study from the Waltham Pet Care Science Institute. So let me tell you something else that's interesting about that. Not only did the Institute put this on, but the Institute is part of Mars Pet Care. And for those of you that don't know, Mars Pet Care is a big old player in the game. Mars Pet Care owns a lot of different entities and a lot of different things. So, of course, I'm like, okay, well, what's their CBD product? Mars Pet Care does not have a CBD product. So they are investing money, time, and energy into researching the effects that animals experience from cannabinoids, even though they don't have a product yet. So as a product developer, of course, I'm like, Mars Pet Care is a big entity, and right, competitions can be good, cannot be good, but to me, I'm so grateful that they're actually researching this space. Probably they're going to step into it in the near future. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I'm sure it's right around the corner. And when you guys do come out with a product, I hope it's fantastic. It'll be broad spectrum, I'm sure, because that's what you're researching. But kudos to you. Kudos to you for researching CBD and cannabinoid medicine prior to getting into this space, or even if you have no intention to get into the space, kudos on you. And kudos on you for actually reporting the findings and not trying to gear a study to push your own agenda, because there's a lot of people that do that. And I'm happy to see that Mars Pet Care has actually got their shit together. So good job, guys. Good job. Good job. What are you going to research next? I can't wait to hear about it. So aside from that, by the way, that article about the Institute, Mars Pet Care, the CBD study, all of that is on veterinary33.com. And I'm sure I'm going to have a little thing or something right here to tell you all about it. So if you're interested, there will probably be links that I'll post to so you guys can research it for yourself and see what's going on. So another thing in cannabis veterinary news is THC intoxications. So as I was researching and trying to pull articles to talk about with you guys on this first episode, something I noticed was, oh my gosh, all of the veterinary cannabis news has to do with intoxication. All of it. I mean, it was so difficult to find anything that pushed or spoke to a different narrative other than the dangers that THC has for your pets. Now, I believe that this information is good because our access to THC products is so much greater now. So the likelihood of somebody leaving product out and their pet getting into it, it's a lot higher. And when I teach in vet clinics, obviously I teach about what a THC intoxication looks like, how you handle that, how to discuss it with a pet parent and keep it comfy so that things don't get weird or they feel attacked. But I believe that anytime you're talking about one side of the coin, you've always got to look at the other side of it. And THC intoxications, they can be a little scary the first time you see them, but they're actually handled pretty simply. And now, of course, if they ingest your brownies and there's xylitol or chocolate or something like that that's going to be dangerous to your dog, then we handle that different. You may need activated charcoal. Your dog is going to have forced emesis. There's a lot of things that might happen if you've got chocolate or other little candies in there. But let's say that your dog just ingests flour, right? If I leave my little jar, my weed out on my tray, something like that, my dog comes by and it eats it. The way it's going to present is as if the dog is knocked out, sedated. They're usually really chill, really laid back, like really vibing. And I've seen guys come in with their little dogs that are usually really snippy, and they're actually laid out on their back, and the guy's looking at them like, what are we gonna do? What could this be? And it's THC intoxication. So what we do is we take them in. We usually run a tox screen on them to make sure that it's THC. Those tests sometimes work, sometimes don't, depending on. I've noticed that like little dogs, when you run a THC tox on them, they're a lot less likely to like pop hot. But I don't know if that's because it takes such a small amount of THC to intoxicate a small dog. And whereas like a big dog, you know, if they ingest enough that they're symptomatic, like you're going to be able to pick that up on a test. So that's just a fun little tidbit. The angels fly away from here. Okay, so if I get this dog and it's THC intoxicated, it's typically like wobbly, stumbling back and forth. They can be incontinent, which is like dribbling urine. They can have tachycardia or bradycardia, depending on what's going on, what kind of strain it is, that kind of thing. So those are the sort of symptoms you typically observe. They struggle to regulate their own body temperature. So what we do as veterinary professionals is we take in a dog, we tox screen it, it's positive for THC, or not, but we know it is. Then what we do is we typically admit the dog, we set up an IV, we run fluids, right? We maintain hydration. We'll typically give heat support if heat support's required, but you know, you're monitoring that temperature, you're taking it pretty regularly. And then we might give Cerenia, which is an antiemetic, which is nausea, right? Because they're wobbling back and forth. Fun fact, the highest concentration of CB1 receptors in the dog's brain is located in the cerebellum. The cerebellum is the part of the dog's brain that's responsible for balance. So THC loves the CB1 receptor. So if your dog ingests THC, all of those are going to find the cerebellum CB1 receptors, and your dog's going to be like, woo, and that's what throws them off balance. So it usually doesn't take very long. It usually takes about, 12, 24 hours and the dog is back to normal. There are cases where it's lasted 48. There's no reported cases of a dog dying from THC intoxication. But I get online, I'm looking for these articles, and I find 3 back to back that's all about marijuana intoxication. What I worry about is a buzz fear for pet parents when it comes to cannabis. So I think you need just enough of this news that these idiots put their cannabis up, but you don't need so much of this news that when people think cannabis and dogs, they have immense fear and they shy away from it. Because isn't that why we're in this situation with cannabis to begin with? Right? Is fear propaganda? So I do worry about that being the only source of education. Because I've studied veterinary cannabis for many years now, and THC can be used therapeutically. It's obviously, I don't want to go give my dog flour or concentrate or anything like that. If I do give THC, it's in low levels, and it's usually also got high levels of CBD on board. I don't want to use the word counteract because that's not right. But the CBD does help with the affinity of how the THC binds. So if you add CBD with that THC, it actually knocks that THC out of that orthosteric binding site. Science. So there is a way for us to use it. In fact, Dr. Trina Hazaz is an oncologist, and she's been studying the effects of cannabis on common canine cancers for a long time. And while she's been doing this, she's found that THC induces apoptosis, which is natural cell death. It can concentrate specifically to those cancer cells. It presents metastasis. Like there's so many incredible things that THC can do, even for your canine patient. But like I said, it's all got to be done the right way. You've got to have the right molecules. You need to know what you're looking for. You need to understand cannabis before you just like, ooh, I'm gonna feed this to my dog. Which That's why it bothers me so bad that more veterinarians are not doing everything they can to be as educated about veterinary cannabis as possible. They just are scared of it. They just don't want to hear it. They, no, herbs. But we've got a lot of veterinarians that sell our products, and we have a lot of people out there that are changing their minds, and they're starting to see cannabis really for what it can do for the dog. And especially when it comes to those cases that you can't treat, right? Or those behavior issues. Behavioral issues are one of my main things that I talk to people about when it comes to cannabis. Because there's nothing more difficult than a dog that's got such high fear aggression that it's got to get you before you get it kind of thing. And we've seen that hemp works amazingly well for showing that dog that, hey dude, nobody is here to get you. And it's almost like after they have a few positive experiences, that fear goes away and you're able to completely step them off the hemp and them just experience things without being as triggered as they were prior to cannabis therapy. That's astounding, isn't it? I think it's freaking astounding. Okay, back to the list. So, okay, I want to tell you guys a Hippie Hound story. I've got a client that she used Hippie Hounds years ago when I first started, but it's one of my favorite stories, truly, truly my favorite stories. And this dog's name is Jack. Jack was a chocolate lab. He is no longer with us, but Hippie Hounds was able to help him be more comfortable there in the final year of his life. So when he was around 4 years old, he was diagnosed with osteoarthritis, and so chronic pain. He had issues in his back, in his joints, his back legs. It was very difficult for his mom as he got older, and he was much older by the time Hippie Hounds came on the scene. I want to say he was about 12. So mom had tried everything. She did your typical carprofen, your anti-inflammatory meds, your pain medications, JD food, which is joint food. It's specific diet just to help increase the amount of synovial fluid in the joints, basically. I'm sure it does a lot of other cool things, but needless to say, it wasn't doing much for Jack. So mom approached me and was like, hey girl, we went to vet tech school together too, me and Jack's mom. And she was like, I've got to figure out something for Jack, and I'm interested in Hippie Hounds. I want to see if it'll do something for him. So I sent her a bag of our 10 milligram treats, and she started it out, and within the first hour, she noticed Jack was moving around better. Okay? So the next day, they've got two labs, by the way. The next day, she's got some hamburger meat thawed out on the counter. Well, she comes around, and the hamburger meat's gone. So naturally, she blames the younger little 2-year-old lab and is like, oh, she's getting onto him, and you know better than to jump up on the counter. And then Jack throws up the hamburger meat. And she was beside herself that her dog was jumping. She hadn't seen him do that in years. She was using a ramp to get him in and out of the car. Like, he wasn't jumping, man. And now she messaged me. She's like, he's a crazy lab again. Like, I'm so pumped. And it was really big for me, not only to be able to help a friend's dog, but be able to help a fellow veterinary professional's dog. And that's really where Hippie Hounds got started. I mean, we wouldn't be a company if I didn't prove myself to all the veterinarians in Arkansas first. So, go Nicole, go Jack. I love you guys. I just had to share that story, and here's a picture of him too.
That's it. I'm not a man. I'm God. You're just made in my image.
So, one other thing. I say one other thing a lot, but it's probably like 3 other things, but starting with this one. We're going to talk about another herb. I love cannabis. I love hemp. Like, I'm all about it. But there are other herbs out there that do incredible, amazing things for the body. Not only our humans, but our dogs, our cats, all those different animals. There's a million gazillion herbs out there, and they all do incredible, fantastic things. So every podcast or episode that I do, I want to shout out a different herb. And today's herb is catnip.
I drop my top, then I sweat my cold,
Well, catnip, most people have associated this with meow-iguana, right? And that's what made me pick up catnip in the first place, because I was like, oh man, it's like kitty weed, how tight. But the more I started to research it, the more fascinating that I found out catnip actually was. Catnip has astounding anti-inflammatory properties, and it actually has a knack of targeting the gut area specifically. So obviously when a cat sniffs and rolls around in catnip, it gives them that energy and that spice. When you ingest catnip, it doesn't do the same thing. And we know, we've actually been testing out a product on a couple kitties that's catnip. And when they ingest it orally, they don't have that, energy, spicy spike. Instead, what they have is relaxation, calmness, and a decrease in the inflammation in the gut. Get out of Dodge. So through having this business, a real common issue I've heard from pet parents of cats is GI issues. Whether it's from struggling to defecate, or it's the inflammation in the gut that's very severe, or bloody stool, or inappropriate defecation in areas they're not supposed to. Either way, if I can find a way to develop a product with catnip that will help cats with those GI issues, I'm here for it, man. So get ready, because I am introducing a lot of new herbs into Hippie Hounds in the next couple of years, and catnip is going to be one of those first ones we run with. So be on the lookout, and let me know if you're interested in sampling it too, because I love guinea pigs. Okay. So, frequently asked question. I want to do one of these too. So if you have a frequently asked question, or if you have a question, I guess you wouldn't know if it was frequent, would you? Anyway. If you have a question, hit it to me, dude. Like, drop it in the comments. Let me know what I can help with. I want to be able to provide this resource at least once a week to start. And then if you guys love it and it becomes big, then I'll do it more often. Go to do what the people want, right? So a commonly asked question is, should I give my dog Hippie Hounds treats or Hippie Hounds tinctures? The answer to that question boils back to the gut, which is what we were just talking about. Our treats are made with human grade ingredients. They're all take everything I put in my stuff really serious. With that being said, dog treats, ours are peanut butter and pumpkin. And peanut butter and pumpkin can help stimulate the GI, but if you have a dog that has chronic pancreatitis, GI upset, dietary restrictions, allergies, you don't want to put a new ingredient into their diet, because it could potentially flare those issues up. So that was the reason I developed the tincture, was for dogs with allergies and GI issue. And the tincture is vegan. It only has 2 ingredients. It's got a carrier oil, which is MCT oil, and then it's got hemp oil, which is full spectrum, which is the best blend you're going to find on the market. And if your doggy has allergies, GI issues, or if your dog is anorexic, I've had a couple anorexic dogs that we use the tincture for. So that's going to be the times that you reach for the tincture. Other than that, the treat's a great option. Let me shout out a couple of our new retailers for Hippie Hounds treats. We've got Delta Cannabis Company. Delta Cannabis is located in, I believe, the Memphis area of Arkansas. And then we've also got St. Clair, Missouri, and we are in their Good Day Farm dispensary there in St. Clair. So if you're in the Missouri area, make sure you stop by and say hi to them. I want to say we're in around 10 dispensaries in Missouri. We're in a ton of dispensaries in Arkansas, and we actually just added our 9th state. So we're in 9 states right now. What does that even mean? I'm so excited about it. So bless you guys. Thank you guys for carrying Hippie Hounds and giving a big load of care about your patients, because when they can pick up something wonderful for them and something wonderful for their dog, you've just created a wonderful scenario where people are just gonna swim in this cannabis wonderland. I'm so glad that you tuned in today. And if you loved this, tell me. If you hated it, don't, because I don't give any cares about that. I'm here to spread good vibes and good vibes only. So have a great night. Thank you for tuning in to Hippie Hounds, and I'll see you on the flip side. Take it easy and chill out.
You have to be odd to be number one. Hey, thinking as I got these fucking days. Hey.